Good evening and welcome, and I think first of all a big thank you to our hosts tonight for their magnificent
Well,
you haven't tried yet, but thank you very much.
So last year, as those of you who were here would know, we were denied the moderate pleasure of listening to the Bard of Bloomsbury, Mr. Brahman, as he was he preferred to spend his evening with some minor politician who invited him around to his
Oh, that's
place
right,
for
I'd forgotten that, yes.
Yeah, exactly. He invited around to his place for a Big Mac and fries. The man is bought so cheaply. But tonight, I'm proud to say, happy to say, that he's seen the error of his ways and he's rejoined the glitterati of rheumatology to be here this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been claimed that poetry is the finest of arts, capturing the broad range of human emotions and distilling the essence of life and its rhythms in simple verse. But I'm glad to say Professor Rahman's poems follow none of these basic rules. Instead, he focuses on a merger of low cunning, lower wit, and crude hedonism. Think Kim Jong-un meets Mary Berry.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from Bristol, the town whose website lists as its three main attractions eating, drinking, and leaving, it is a great pleasure to welcome the semi-incomparable, the Pele of pain, the Aguero of acopia, the Lampard of lupus, that one is for you, Hannah, the Messi of management, the one and only Professor Alice Rahman.
Thank you very much, David, for that introduction. So, to start with, I would like to ask anybody to put their hands up who remembers working at Arthur Stanley House. Ah, yes, some of you remember that. So, for the younger members here, Arthur Stanley House was where rheumatology used to be at UCLH. It was a standalone building. It's still standing, actually. It's just shut up, and it's on near Goode Street Station. And the thing about Arthur Stanley House was it was just for us. It was rheumatology and dermatology. It was an outpost. We only had our clinics there. We didn't have to do any hot desking. We all had a desk each and so on.
An office each.
Yes, it had quite nice furniture with big desks. Some people even had offices. So I was thinking about Arthur Stanley House. Of course, life was a bit different in those days. So, for example, we had to order our blood tests on paper and pen, and all the results came back on little slips. And the registrars had a rota for sorting out the slips. So you had to spend kind of half an hour sorting the slips and putting them in little pigeonholes. But it was a nice place, and we rather missed it. And about 12 years ago, when they built the new hospital, they told us we had to move into what was going to be called the podium, which is where we are now. And some of us actually saw the podium when it was just a building site. And we went round it, and they said, "Oh, it'll be great in the podium. Everything will be fantastic there." So we were sold it. But when we turned up, it wasn't quite as we thought. We weren't expecting that only 2 of the rooms would have any natural light, for example. We kind of expected that clocks would tell the time some of the time. And as for the printers, well, the less said the better. So I thought that today I would write a poem all about podium life. Life in the podium, and I'm sure some of the little quirks I've tried to illustrate in the poem will ring true to many of you. The clocks, the printers, and particularly the whiteboard of shame. Now, the whiteboard of shame is the situation where you're in your clinic and you come out and you see written, Professor Rahman, 1 hour late. There's nothing private about it. We're not hiding it in any way. All the patients, including the ones who aren't even mine, can see how late I am. Every pain clinic, every Friday afternoon, without fail, it says something like that on the whiteboard of shame. And it turns out actually that they write that before I'm late. I expect it. Because 1 week I wasn't late, I was on time, I came out and it still said, Professor Rahman, 1 hour late. This is just standard practice. It's the default position to tell everybody I'm 1 hour late. So, it was hurtful, but I lived through it. So I've decided to try and, immortalise podium life in the form of poetry. So this is how it goes. Now, you may have heard tell that consultants of yore did their clinical work in conditions so poor that the patients and carers were frequently told to bring extra warm clothes because the rooms were so cold. Computer technology was so new then that we ordered our blood tests with paper and pen, and test results came back on neat printed slips and voluminous packs held together with clips. Now you may be wondering, how was it done with such paltry resources? Was it really much fun? Did we struggle to cope? Were we just overrun? Was it all bleak midwinter, or were there days in the sun? Now there was a building down by Gooch Street Station with south-facing windows, a fine situation. It was called Arthur Stanley, and there we all sat to work, see our patients, and sometimes to chat. The third floor was sacrosanct, kept just for us. There were no other clinics to cause any fuss. Our patient care leaflets were all on display. No lack of injection trays caused us dismay. And on the fourth floor there was plenty of room, with a desk for each person. No need for the gloom of perennial hot desking, searching for space and then carrying everything to the next place. And so we were happy there, no urge to change, but then 12 years ago there occurred something strange. The hospital management built a new tower, a centre of excellence, an icon of power. And they said all your clinics will have to move there, and no space will be sacrosanct, you'll have to share. There'll be lots of clinic pods from A to J, and that's where you'll see your patients, but just for the day. They'll be multi-purpose, though that may cause strife, but you'll soon get accustomed to podium life. The podium clinic space is clean and bright, but only the end rooms have natural light. The others are darker and so small as well that if you're claustrophobic, they feel like a cell. And you may have noticed, though it's not a crime, that none of the clocks tell the accurate time. Because all of them stopped about 2 years ago. And as for printers, well, all of us know that the problems are legion, and you never can tell when you start in the morning if things will go well. Will the toner run out? Will the networking fail? Will the paper get jammed? Will the print look like Braille? Will your efforts to order your blood tests online be a nightmare from Kafka? Or will it be fine? You can try hard to fix it, but if all else fails, you ring IT support, and a man from South Wales takes your name and your number and asks lots of questions. And he has some ideas, and he makes some suggestions, and he's very polite, and he has good intentions, which is all well and good, but you'd just like to mention that the patient you're seeing is looking confused because it's taking so long and you seem so bemused. And outside, the clinic is running so late that the patients are cross, and it's once more your fate to emerge from your room to observe that your name is emblazoned in red on the whiteboard of shame. You're an hour behind, and the patients all know, and their accusing eyes follow wherever you go. And the only proviso that lightens the curse is that Prof. Rahman's pain clinic is so much worse. For he's always so late that it could cause some strife. But the patients are used to it. His delays are so rife that they bring in some knitting or read Country Life. They say one of those patients proposed to his wife while waiting for Rahman. That's podium life. If your patient's on DMARDs and harassed by doubt, or they need the supply of Humira worked out, well, they're frightened their therapy could make them worse and you need sound advice, well then, you need a nurse. For our nurses are priceless. When you're in a jam, you can always find Abigail, Ada, or Sam. And the patients all love them. They cry, "It's so nice," at the end of the phone line to get their advice. And don't forget Nyarko and Alice & Co, who conduct all the research and trial, although it can be a challenge to find new recruits to beat lupus or useful, or others to boot. But one day in the clinic, a patient comes in who seems really perfect. It could be a win. So down comes Alexis, her eyes are a sparkle at the thought of recruiting. She's like Meghan Markle. And she talks to the patient for close on a day. But some little snag always gets in the way. Like the patient's on steroids, or doesn't like trials, or wants to get pregnant, or lives in Carlisle, or smokes like a chimney, or has a fake tan, or leaves in the morning to move to Bhutan. But back in the podium, the clinics go on. At the end of each clinic, the patients have gone with their questions all answered, their symptoms relieved, and a sense of contentment that they've been believed when they talked of their problems, no matter how strange, and they have a new confidence something will change. Whether they saw Mike Ehrenstein for SLE, or Fang Anorati injected their knee, if they asked Anna Kazkaz about EDS, or consulted Vanessa about CDS, perhaps Kosiana has scanned all their joints, or Helena or Iman went over the points that led them to get early osteoporosis. Whatever the problem or the diagnosis, just as in Arthur Stanley a decade ago, we all care for our patients, so all of them know they can trust us, and so could their husband or wife, because that is the secret of podium life. turn to the next act of the evening, and I'm put in mind of Sir Mick Jagger. Because I was reading an article about Sir Mick Jagger, who's one of our ageing rock stars. There are many ageing rock stars. Fewer of them are in as good condition as David certainly isn't. Nevertheless, just like Sir Mick, he refuses to stop singing. Many people have asked him, some people have begged him, he's been bribed. The Queen even wrote to him, but he refused. He's dragged on the Davettes. There's a new Davette tonight, as you'll be hearing, but sadly the Davettes have taken industrial action and they have now refused to wear the wigs.
Hey! Women power!
It's a great shock. Some people say that things will never be the same again.
Oh, that's true.
The Davettes apparently do have something surprising to show us by way of attire to take place of the wigs, but I don't really know what it is. Anyway, how can you describe Lupus Dave and the Davettes, and indeed, why should you want to? All I can say is nobody really knows when Lupus Dave and the Davettes started, but it has been discovered that there's a fragment of manuscript in North Finchley which suggests that they started sometime in the 12th century. This fragment of manuscript refers to the wandering minstrel Lupus Dave and his companion Peter of Lydiard. Apparently they were accompanied by numerous bewigged wenches, frequently encumbered by the later stages of pregnancy. It is said of Lupus Dave and the Davettes that brave men trembled and weak ones tried to remove their ears with blunt instruments. But I'll leave you to decide for yourselves. It's Lupus Dave and the Davettes.
Well done.
You want to take over? You have.
Oh. I'm not.
Everybody set. I'm just a doc from London town, where here and there I've been around. You can't imagine half the things I've seen. A chancre on a prince's lips, a dozen dislocated hips. I've even fixed the piles of a queen. But there's a case that baffled me. The experts just did not agree. All they said was, do more tests. Her liver's worse than Georgie Best's. She was a woman of some 50 years. Her story, it moved me to tears. An irony which bothered me, as I'll explain, you see. She was dry, dry, dry in the eye. And if she felt like weeping, well, she just couldn't cry. Her mouth was very sticky, it's no word of a lie. It won't change until the day that she dies. It won't change until the day that she dies. For 10 years she had swollen glands, bad fatigue, arthritic hands, but no one knew just what the cause might be. They scanned her joints, they scanned her brain to prove that she was not insane. Blurred vision made it hard for her to see. Someone said she had ME, others said chronic fatigue, no drugs or therapy. It seemed could set her free. Her faith healer lost his belief when she said you're just a thief. After all I promised you, all I got from you is a fee. I gotta tell you, she was dry, dry, dry in the eye. And if she felt like weeping, well, she just couldn't cry. Her mouth was very sticky, it's no word of a lie. It won't change until the day that she dies. It won't change until the day that she dies. When all seems
lost a dinner guest. Said, but there's just one more test that you really ought to make them do. And following that useful tip, they biopsied her lower lip, which gave a final diagnostic clue. There was no doubt that once again the diagnosis was Sjogren's. Shame it took 10 years to pacify her fears. So if your patient's symptoms are more than just a bit bizarre, don't despair, do a Sjogren's test. It may turn out for the best. I gotta tell you, she was dry in the eye, and if she felt like weeping, well, she just couldn't cry. Her mouth was very sticky, it's no word of a lie.
It won't change until the day that she dies. It won't change until the day that she dies.
About 10 years ago, which more like 13 years ago, a young South African woman and her family moved to Finchley, which was a very brave thing to do, because if you look at the map of Finchley, you'll see that there's a North Finchley, and there's an East Finchley, and there's a West Finchley, but there is no South Finchley. And I think South Finchley is a little bit like the Bermuda Triangle. I think people have gone looking for it, and they've never come back. Unfortunately, also for this young person who was called Heidi, as you know, she turned out to be my next door neighbour. And we met over the garden fence, and she said to me she was a teacher, but she had an inclination to sing. And I signed her up on the spot, which was a very good thing. Which was a very good thing, because she still was singing with us about 7 years later. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Heidi, who's going to sing a song for us tonight, all about the dangers of corticosteroids.
Already.
So yeah, correct. 2.
Can you give me a little bit of info?
Here I stand.
Okay.
2, 3, 4.
Here I stand, bells in hand, my face the shape of the moon. My bones so thin I didn't touch a gem. One fall will be my high noon. My beat beat high, my street wide, had a dozen infections in June. My one-eyed sexy, a record for me. I'm expecting Eric Cataract soon. Hey, steroids will see me to my grave. Hey, steroids will see me to my grave. But how can I even try to reduce my steroids too soon? My joints will swell, I'll be back in hell. One fall will be my high noon. So my steroids rule and I'm their fool. I'm as guns to their truth. I'll never be free, and though they save me, I've swollen up like a balloon. Hey, steroids will see me to my grave. Hey, steroids will see me to my grave.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Jess Manson, who is sometimes known as the world's oldest living daybed. I want you to know that I have promised her that when she gets a little bit older, I'm going to rewrite a very famous song for her, which will go something like this. It's Zimmer time, and the cardio version is easy. But for now, she'll have to make do with joining us in what is a rather sad song, actually, about the rather shameful way in which UCL got rid of its rather wonderful professor of medicine, Raymond, who I think sure you will know very well. And this was also known as an incident which we call UCL men behaving badly. Keep going.
Didn't give your doubters any mind, but you were sharpened when you refused to toe the line.
They left you nothing. They left you nothing to take heart, and that's what happens when you go swimming with the sharks.
Colleagues behave so badly, it really took your breath away for the shared vision. But it was just the game they played out of fire in your belly and left some embers in the dark. It seems they caught a thing harder. Sadly, just lost all its spark.
They left you nothing. They left you nothing to take heart, and that's what happens when you go swimming with the sharks.
You sit around spirits pillow, masquerading as guilt. No one on me, shake the well off your shoulders. I'm feeling so hell that you stay in the same department, and they will count you up all the time. If you wanna stay sane, boy, you better move on, though it's a crime. You'd like to see some action, a real revolution running through your only satisfaction. You know that their days are numbered too. They left you nothing. They left you nothing to take heart, and that's what happens when you go swimming with the sharks. They left you nothing.
They left you nothing to take heart, and that's what happens when you go swimming with the sharks.
We did this next song for you last year, and it's all about that one person for each of us who's out there in the world, in the world, who we really don't want to see again. The Everly Brothers called it, all I have to do is dream. We call it scream.
Scream, 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 scream.
Scream, scream, scream when I met you. One dark night when I met you. You look to fry whenever I see you. All I wanna do is scream. Scream, scream, scream. I saw your face. I 20 years late, whenever I see you, all I wanna do is scream. Street, you like to tweet, that's all that we meet, rarely and on the net. I saw you on the streets, in Crete, it brought me out in a cold sweat. My friends tell me you can be kind, that's true if you are deaf, dumb and blind. Whenever I see you, all I wanna do is scream. Scream, 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 scream. Scream, 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 scream. Scream, 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 scream.
It's now a great pleasure to welcome tonight our musical guru and musical recordist, Pete Lydiard, who I'm sure many of you will know. Peter has had a very illustrious career as an immunologist, but has found his real métier in music and in recording our songs. It's also an even great one, it's a great pleasure to present one of the youngest of the Davettes, Eliana Natsaki. Eliana was born about the time that Peter and I were collecting our first. We also welcome for the first time this young lady, well, no, she's not the lady here, this one lady here, Alexis Jones, who truly shocked me when she arrived by reminding me that her father had been a registrar of mine about the time that Noah's Ark floated off. So we're going to do a little song about an incident which I suspect has happened to all of us at one time or another in the course of our lives. And Eliana's going to do this one.
Ready?
Okay.
I was feeling rather grim. Threw stones at the window, let me in.
Let him in, let him in, let him in, let him in. For pity's sake, we beg you, let him in.
Sadly, both the ladies
Sadly, all good things must soon come to an end. As one of the other ones put it, eternity is a very long time, especially towards the end. So now we're going to end up with a song which is about the love that dare not bear its name. I refer, of course, to Love in the Lab.
You say you will help with my experiment. Reagents have gone missing. My pipette is bent. The centrifuges are leaking. My incubator is on the blink. I called out chief technician. She'd gone to her shrink.
I will try to help you. I've had your problems too. Your boss needs answers quickly. His grant renewal due. And I must admit that to work with you is tempting fate. Staying in the dark room would be like a blind date.
Me, I'm just the lucky kind. Like to think that things will work out fine. You just give them time. Fast decisions, cold derision. I think you're quite good looking, but my research comes first. It's focused on achieving an oxidative burst. And just because we're floating a little piece of your DNA, don't think your personal feelings should get in the way.
I think so much about you, sat at my cryostats. I cut sections for you, could I mean more than that? I think you like my humor, I've defended you from computer hacks, but you seem immune to me, I must face the facts.
Me, I'm just the lucky kind. Like to think that things will work out fine if you just give them time. Fast decisions, cause derision. Don't think I haven't noticed the way you look at me. It's charming, but it's hopeless. My research is key. You might think that I'm sexy. I wouldn't want to lead you astray. And you must remember, I'm not 50 shades of grey. And you must remember, I'm not 50 shades of grey.
Thank you very much. Mind your best, Shipley.
People wonder why I just don't retire. To be truthful, I don't retire because of what all you mean to